Justin Trudeau was once the golden boy of global politics. First elected in 2015, he forced out Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who'd served in that post for almost a decade. Since then, the shine has come off Justin Trudeau. From blackface scandal to corruption inquiry, the murky dealings of his SNC Lavalin scandal made waves in Canada, if not the wider world. And of course, now his famous cringeworthy political correctness, all too often difficult to distinguish from parody. Who could forget him nobly correcting a woman at an event to say people-kind instead of mankind? The Green agenda is at the forefront of politics today as well, and Mr Trudeau has a lamentable record. Canada's emissions are more than 20% higher than they were in 1990. They have risen during Trudeau's time as Prime Minister as well. Let's have a look at this graph. Canada perhaps has the most proficient spin machine, but in reality, the worst record in the G7 for this time period. Even the United States has done better. Best of all, of course, was the United Kingdom. Not that you hear about that much of the time in the media. Well, Trudeau lost his majority in 2019. Indeed, in vote share, he was beaten by the Conservatives, just not in seat share. After repeatedly promising he would not call a snap election in the middle of a pandemic, no doubt sensing a rise in the polls, he abruptly turned course. Keen to snatch a majority, in mid-August, Trudeau called that snap election. Now, 1 month later, today is already polling day. Although it's safe to say the campaign has not gone as smoothly as Trudeau perhaps expected. Let's have a look at these polls. Despite leading up until August, his election call, almost straight away, Trudeau suffered a Theresa May-style crash, tumbling behind the Conservatives. Things have become messier in the last 2 weeks as well. The Conservative surge seems to have stalled, and it appears as if Tory voters may be seeping to the right-wing populist People's Party of Canada. Polling aggregator Election Maps puts the People's Party on about 6.3%, with a corresponding recent dip in Conservative support. There's a very real prospect now that Justin Trudeau could squeak back in as with a minority as Prime Minister on an even lower share of the vote than he managed to cobble together last time. So potentially this was all for nothing, and the Canadian Parliament will look almost exactly as it did before this mid-pandemic vanity election was even called. Or maybe we're in for a surprise. For our Canadian cousins, this will be a close election night and a fascinating one to watch. Well, that's my view on the Canadian election, and we'll be continuing to keep an eye on it as Canadians go to the polls throughout today.